Back again with another episode of Clean Breakthrough, powered by Greenville Transitions. Today we are passing this baby off to Lucas because Lukey has a topic for us. We got Cole back with us today.
Hello. Hello.
There he is. We got the picture over to him. Cole's joining us. And yeah, Lucas, take it away.
I was in a meeting and someone made the topic responsibilities in recovery / non-negotiables in recovery. Like, what are the things, or just non-negotiables in life as a person who's in recovery? I don't think they had to do with recovery. A lot of them did, but I thought that would be an interesting topic to bring here because it was a really good discussion there. But I don't want to tinge it or taint it with my thoughts. So I want to kick it to y'all first to see what y'all think, and then I'll join in a bit. But just responsibility and recovery, what do you think? And non-negotiables when you're in recovery or in life in general.
All right. David, you got thoughts?
Oh, can you give us like a path on which, like, the path it kind of went down?
Well, I think that's the best part, is you got to decide what does it make you think about?
Okay, just responsibilities in recovery, non-negotiables in recovery. I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is integrity. And just like trying to do the right thing, even when no one's looking. Like, I don't like those feelings of like can't sleep at night because I know I said something or did something wrong, or like if I let those things stack up, that's where I think my recovery can go to a really scary place. So that was just the first thing that popped in my mind. What's the first thing that popped into your mind, Cole?
Let's see. I guess I was thinking like responsibility for oneself, I would say. And that's going to tie into like the non-negotiables and the structures one sets up. But I don't know. I think the foundational thing that's really necessary for not only your recovery, but I think just having like a complete life is having vulnerability and transparency. And what I mean by that is like having like very open honesty with the people in your life. You're going to end up helping them by doing that, even though it's going to be hard, but you're really going to help yourself. So there's like a proactivity there that you're getting ahead of stuff mentally, physically, whatever it is stressing you out. You're getting ahead of it. And so it doesn't like blow up in your face, for lack of a better words, which is generally what happens in recovery. But it also happens like if you're not like sober, like you hold things in, resentments build up. So figuring out ways to be transparent and open and honest, I think is like one of the like foundational things that I very much. Oh yeah, baby. We got the hood up, Lucas. I like this. This is a good look, actually. We got beanie, hood, and hat.
Yeah.
I like it, dude.
Scary.
Yeah. And so I can talk a little bit about like the honesty part of it, and like how that looks from you take like kind of like the responsibility part being like an internal thing, and then the non-negotiable being an external thing that supports it, right? So if I'm saying like the internal thing is honesty and openness, vulnerability, right? Like that's the internal thing. That's the thing I'm responsible for. The non-negotiables that I've set up in my life are the behaviors or the external things that support that. So I would say that's things like talking to a sponsor, or talking to a therapist, talking to friends, having people in your life who know you and you know them, that you're connecting with on a very frequent basis. I I think journaling and writing is a really good one too. I know people hear that and like roll their eyes, but to just like sit and just sit and just like write it out, even for like 5 minutes, can really like help you gain perspective and help you be honest with yourself. Therapy, I think, is another really important one. So I can think of like several like behaviors to support this responsibility. I'm kind of just rambling now.
No, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
Did you have something else, David?
No, I was going to say, let's take it over to the guy who's threw the hood up.
Threw my hood up. I thought it was interesting. Y'all went a lot more like internal than external, especially you, David, and then Cole. I know you talked about some like things to do also, like actions. But I would say that in the discussion that I had, everything was like more external. Like actions and practices and stuff like that was just how the room heard it. And I think there's no right or wrong answer. It's just how you hear it. But it was funny when the topic came up, it was kind of explained in this way of like, I just got sober and then just these responsibilities of recovery, just keep getting laid on me as I stay sober longer. But my initial thought was like, all the responsibilities of recovery are really just life responsibilities that now I associate with recovery, because recovery forces me to be like an active participant and citizen in society and life. And so it's like easy for me to confuse, like, guess I got to pay my taxes now, the responsibilities of recovery, and I got to get a job and pay my car insurance and pay my phone bill. And it's like, well, those are all just like normal life things. But I think it's easy, especially like younger guys that we work with, to kind of associate with like, well, when I was in addiction, I didn't have to do any of this BS, and then now I'm sober and you're telling me I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to make my bed and I got to, do all these things, but that I don't think really have anything to do with recovery. So then as far as like recovery responsibilities go that I could think of, I think like the most important one was just like showing up in 12-step is what I do, because people showed up for 12-step for me. And so just being there, even if it's just a butt in the chair, like meetings have to have enough people, butts and chairs, to be there to have a meeting. If there's no one there to unlock the door, there's no meeting for a new person to go to when they look one up. If there's nobody sharing in the room, then there's nothing for them to hear that's like positive or hopeful or encouraging. If nobody makes the coffee, they can't get a cup of coffee. If no one sets out the chairs, they have nowhere to sit. So that's just kind of like the basic responsibility, I think, that I feel like specifically in recovery towards helping other people in recovery. And then the non-negotiables was more interesting to me, because I think non-negotiables feels like a forever thing, like non-negotiable forever, and has always been non-negotiable. But when I look at my time in recovery, if I said like having a home group is a non-negotiable for me, that hasn't always been the case. If I said having a sponsor that I meet with regularly and like I'm actively working with is a non-negotiable, that hasn't always been the case. So there's so many things that are kind of like non-negotiable for me today that I've had ups and downs with. And I think that's the cool thing about recovery, is like someone else said, wear it like a loose garment, and that it gives me the freedom to kind of make mistakes and have ups and downs, as long as like those core non-negotiables are there, which I think the biggest one is just to not drink or use, and as long as I don't do that, and then, try to kind of practice these principles in all my affairs, integrity, honesty, stuff like that, I'll pretty much survive all the other stuff, I think, and be afforded a little bit of up and down. And then the last thing that I thought kind of capped it off that was really funny, that I sent to the guy who brought up the topic, was it was a Instagram meme, and it said, "What a privilege it is to be overwhelmed by a life I once prayed for." And I thought that was really good, of like, this is all the stuff that I wanted, at the end of the day, because I like the freedom of like having my own house, having my own car, having my own job, and like schedule, and, money to buy stuff that I want, and the ability to go do activities that I want, and all these things. And I only get those through recovery. So to get mad at the responsibilities, just because they, are responsibilities without acknowledging all the freedoms they give me. Feels like it doesn't shed light on the whole deal that I made. So that was kind of the thoughts and most of like the discussion from that meeting that I just thought was a good topic that led to good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the external side of it. Yeah, I'm sure y'all all heard the clean bed, clean head
Clean
thing.
tread, clean fed.
Yeah, that gets thrown out there. And
Yeah.
I'm a real believer in that. Like, I think the cleaner you keep your house and your stuff in order, like that's going to project into your life with other tasks that need to be completed and things that need to get done. So that's like for guys that come into our sober living program, one of the first things we get started on is like, hey, let's just take care of the basics. Like, make your bed this morning. We're going to give you one chore, whether that's like floors or surfaces or taking the trash out. You just get one of them. Let's get on top of that. And next week might look different. We're going to rotate that around, but we're going to get you, because what you said was like, having these I got to pay taxes on my car now, or I got to now I have my own apartment, so I got to take my own trash out and wipe my own counters down. Well, those are the little things I think that keep someone in a lifestyle. Like, that's what fills their pride tank up at the end of the day. As much as we act like as kids that we hate it, like, I don't want to clean my room, and I don't want taxes, and I don't want to have rent, but like, it gives us a sense of accomplishment when we complete those tasks, when we pay the rent, when we pay the car taxes or car insurance. And it makes us feel like we're contributing to society, to like our friend groups, to our family, all the people that are around us. And it's all too often in our cases where you see, or like with guys that are coming through our program, especially, where you see like those responsibilities have been taken from them by mom or dad or aunt, uncle, grandparent, or friend. So their like pride tank is just depleting, and they don't have anything to feel good about themselves with. And I think it leads to a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the flip side of it, like, I think I grew up like pretty disciplined with that stuff, like cleaning my room and like having all that stuff like really like pushed onto me as a kid. And in adulthood, I've almost found like the opposite. It can have like a diminishing return on that, because I can be very stressed out if I don't do those things. If I don't do the dishes every night, if I don't have the counter perfectly clean, the bed made, like, because life happens, right? Like, there's just, you live with other people. Some of them are kids. Like, life is going to happen. And I think what I've had to do is like step out of some of the like rigidity of the structures in place, and like come to more of a headset of like being flexible and just meeting myself where I'm at in my life that day. I was having a good talk with one of like the martial art coaches at the gym we go to on Saturday. And we were talking about this in terms of like how you teach kids. And he was saying that like in his mindset, like when you're teaching kids, you want to like burn the energy. So you want to get them like burn that energy first, like get them moving, get them running, get them like getting all that like restlessness out. Then you want to teach like the discipline, like teach whatever it is you're trying to teach them in the class. And then you want there to be like fun and affection at the end. Right. And like, that's how it's going to happen. And those things aren't like a perfect 1, 2, 3. They're going to be like overlaid with each other. But I think that's like kind of like a thing that I try to practice in my own life. Like, I need every day to burn some of this energy, some of this internal restlessness and strife that I can have. And some of that is like literally like going and moving my body. Maybe it is like writing in my notebook. Maybe it is like doing yoga, or even just like talking to a friend, just like goofing around, like, and just like getting some of that like restlessness down. Then like paying attention to my life. That's the discipline and the learning part of it. How is my wife today? How are my kids today? How are my clients today? Instead of just like being like, no, everything has to be perfect. It has to be A, B, C, D. It has to be this, being very rigid with it. The discipline is like just being aware. And then coming off of that, of being like able to really see the people in my life, including myself, that's where the affection and connection happens. So I think there's really something to that, right? Like burning that energy, then the awareness and the discipline of like really seeing people where they're at, and then the affection and connection occurring after that. So that was just something that kind of like came to my mind when you were talking, David, like, because I can get really like rigid about that stuff, you know, for me personally, and just trying to be a little bit flexible there, you know. But I will say, early in recovery, super important to be structured and disciplined, because the people that I know who are early in recovery have given themselves out so many times that they don't do it and they will excuse make. So it is really important to like really practice that discipline, really practice that, even if you don't feel like it, you need to do it because you've let your feeling dictate not doing it for way too long, you know?
Yeah. I totally agree with all that. You know, it's funny too that like just the responsibility and freedom thing again of like, you know, I didn't have a car and I had to rely on other people like loaning me their car, but then they could say no whenever. But then like the price of me getting to have my own car is that I have to pay for the car, I have to pay for the taxes, I have to pay for the oil change. And that's where you're kind of like, you know, this is BS. And I think that's what's really tough about, I always tell like the parents we work with and the guys too, of like, you know, growing up, like, and a lot of our guys are growing up in our program for the first time, whether they're 18, 26, it's like kind of the rawest deal in life. Especially if you come from, you know, middle-class family, decent earnings, whatever, because you have basically that life, even though you haven't earned it. You have like that level car, that level house, that level opportunities, maybe that level private school, that level college, like all that type of stuff is afforded to you despite you not doing a single thing to have it. And then you step out on your own thinking like, oh, this is the life I'm accustomed to. And then it's like, oh, the only job I'm qualified for is like a bottom like food and bev job. And I can make $12 an hour and that affords me this apartment and this like car payment, if any, maybe just a bicycle. Like it's just the biggest gap departure for just, yeah, what now all of a sudden is like my reality in my life. And so I think that's just like a really tough transition, as it would be for anybody, to just like accept that of like, well, now this is what I got, but at least that stuff is mine. Like that apartment is mine now, and I get to have an apartment, but I have to clean it and I have to take care of it. And I have to do, obviously not repairs on an apartment, but if it was a house, you know, there's just like these trade-offs. There's a really good quote that I like by a guy named Thomas Sowell, who says that there's no solutions in life, only trade-offs. And I feel like I just see that true all the time. Medication, recovery, responsibility, adulthood, friendships, like just everything is a trade-off. I'm trading something in exchange for hopefully a better thing, but I always got to give something, whether it's my time, energy, give a little something up.
And often with the better thing comes like even more responsibility is what I've noticed. I feel like even in my recovery, it's just been this game of like, I'm trading my current problems for bigger problems. Like, you know, adding a wife to my life, or, you know, adding a wing to the business of we're not just doing sober living now, we're going to do clinical as well. And then like opens up a whole new world of other things, red tape that you have to cut through, hoops I have to jump through, things that I have to like focus on and put my mental energy toward. I do think it's very important to like ease into it. And I think that's a big point of Greenville transitions. When these guys come to our living program, picture it as a seesaw. And at first on the seesaw, we just stack on clinical. And that's and we're coming around them with the very basics and the clinical work, figuring out, hey, what's the root cause? Like what do we need to shift here? And that's weighing down one end of the seesaw. And then, like, as they progress through the program, we start to stack on some more responsibility and real life stuff. Like, oh, here's part-time job, 20 hours. Let's see how this goes. Oh, here's some part-time school. Just take 2 classes for right now, like 6 hours. And as we're stacking that on, we're taking clinical off, and that seesaw slowly starts to tip. And we're trying to find that balance of like, how do we balance this recovery, this clinical, this 12-step meeting, this kind of stuff with the real life stuff. And now we want to keep, so, and now it becomes a game of counterbalance. So I think it's really important to just ease into that and not like throw everything at them at once, all at once. So it's too overwhelming. Because oftentimes the first thing to go is like, well, I'm not worried about this recovery stuff anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. It also makes me think of just the finite nature of things, you know, the trade-off part of it. Like we want like to be happy or be goofy or having fun. Like if you think about like addiction in its core is trying to grab a certain feeling and hold on to that forever. I want this forever. And that's just not reality. Like everything is finite, everything ends. And so that's where there is like the trade-off of things. And to realize like this goes back to the awareness thing that your needs, your non-negotiables. Well, I think it's good to have like an overarching one, like you were describing, Lucas, like a being sober. That is my overarching one. That is non-negotiable. But the other non-negotiable change, you know, due to your responsibility, to people you bring in your life, like what you're doing. And that's what you're talking about, David, with the seesaw effect of it, right? Like you might have a kid, you might only be working 20 hours a week. Now you can work 40 hours a week. You might have a girlfriend, you might have a wife. Like, you know, there's all these like things that change over time. But that is the basis of gratitude. Gratitude is appreciating something for the moment when it happens. If you had it every single day, you wouldn't be grateful for it. And the core of like true gratitude is like to take a deep breath of air in and be like, dang, that's good. You know what I mean? This thing, this oxygen that I like take for granted all the time, like that is like a good thing. That is something I can really appreciate. But how often do we not think about that unless we're trying to hold our breath or we're like swimming underwater and we're like, God, I gotta get air. The rest of the time, we don't think about it at all. So really considering the finite nature of things is like the basis for gratitude, and like things are going to change. You're not going to be stuck forever, you know? But addiction is the opposite of that. It's wanting to be stuck forever in this certain feeling and realize, like, hey, guess what? Can't do it. Doesn't work, you know? Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I was over at our step up house on Saturday night, and we were watching UFC together. And then there's always kind of a late night meeting after the meeting discussion. And somebody was talking about Connor was talking about one of your videos, David, that I think you did. Maybe you were like walking on a trail, and I think it's like a trend right now of something like basically like you're a time traveler going back to your old self, and you're like, hey, one day in 2017, someone's going to walk up to you and say, you know, I want to help you get sober. It's really important you do that. I was thinking about that, like the funniest catch on that I think is true, but sounds like crazy for me, is I was thinking like the best version of that is that like one day in 2005, Lucas, someone is going to come up to you and offer you to smoke pot for the first time. It's really important that you smoke that pot, in the sense that it's like, that's what's like gotten me here. And I think from what you were talking about, Cole, of like, I appreciate my recovery so much only because I've lived through addiction. And I appreciate like some of the easiness of my life today with like these new tools and thoughts and patterns that I have only because I know how hard it was in addiction. And I just think that for me, I really need that balance to know what I have and why I have it and why it's so important that I keep it, because I've been on the other side of it and I don't want to go back there. But I think that can sound so crazy to people that it's like all that heartache, all that, but it's like all that is what makes me today, which I wouldn't trade for the world. Obviously, yeah, if I could not hurt other people along the way, that's stuff that I wish I could take back. But I can't, and I got to live with that and just do what I can today to make that right going forward.
Yeah,
but
that was a big part of it too. It's like hurting those people and living with the pain and regret of that.
Well, to hurt someone only reminds you so much in the future of how you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if I never hurt someone, I wouldn't know as well the like responsibility that I hold and having someone's trust or affection or friendship or, you know, romantic relationship, whatever. I wouldn't hold that with the same care if I just thought, oh, I could drop this and it's not a big deal. It's only when you drop it and see it shatter and have to glue together the pieces that you're like, shit, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it plays out so many times like in life, and we just miss it, and we're not paying attention to it because we're so focused on like this right here. We just don't want to experience discomfort. I mean, even like happens in sports all the time, right? You don't want your team to lose, don't want to lose, don't want to lose, don't want to lose. But when you actually experience success, your team wins or you win a championship or whatever, you're like, man, remember when we lost in the playoffs? Remember when we couldn't win a game? Like, and now we got this, and what a joy it is, you know? And so like that's just the unfortunate reality of like being a human is like we really only appreciate things when we don't have it, you know, and we know how much it means. And soak that up, you know, because it doesn't last either. Like the good times don't last. Like even though like, and that's the conversation we have. I mean, you guys have a ton of sobriety between the two of you. Y'all still have hard days, and maybe not hard days of like, man, I want to go drink or use right now. Maybe not that, but emotionally hard days. But this is stressful, or this is a conflict I have going on right now. Like being sober doesn't cure that. It just makes you way more resilient and realize that it's going to pass, that you can get through this, you know? And that's a big gift. You know, there's a true resiliency gift in there.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I have harder days today than I did in addiction. And what I mean by harder is like maybe decisions that I have to make that there's more on the line today than there was back then. Yeah, the difference is like there's I try to go to like a positive trauma response place rather than a negative trauma response. And that's the beauty of recovery is like slowly building these like putting these tools in your belt or your toolbox that can help you through those hard times of like, all right, this is what I was told I need to do when adversity hits or when things get really tough. I need to like reach out to these people and I need to like start a gratitude list and, you know, go through the motions of like, what's going to get me out of this and into a better place where I can be just grateful for the experience and like try to find my way out of it rather than just roll around in the misery and pain.
Yeah. I'm also thinking too about like, how do you, from a sports terminology, like how do you create a dog? You know, somebody just got that dog in them. You know what I mean? Like somebody just like,
how do you slay, dude?
How do you slay? How do you create a dog? How do you become like a resilient person? Right? Like
if I
that
start
is like
barking, I'm going to leave this podcast.
I'm not barking. I'm saying, I mean, I'm tempted, but I'm not going to. Okay. We had a good weekend.
Go
now,
dogs.
We don't want him leaving. Don't bark, David. Don't bark. But how do you create a dog? Like, how do you create somebody like really like tough? Right. And then I think this like goes back full circle. It comes from the non-negotiables. It is honed. It is crafted. It is built generally by other people. And there's a trust factor of like, all right, you said I got to go to a meeting every day. I don't want to, but I'll go to a meeting. Fine. You know what I mean? And then in the process of that, you learn how to speak to people. You hear other people's stories. You learn about like, how did they deal with hard stuff? And it's all seeping in, whether you realize it or not. And you're becoming more resilient, whether you realize it or not. The same thing with like going to the gym. You like, man, I want to be able to like be tough and be resilient. Well, what happens if people go for a little bit and then when it gets hard, they quit unless they have like a non-negotiable in place or a connection with somebody they're working out with them, or they've signed it up with themselves. Like, I'm going to do this, and they get more physically in shape, get more resilient. So I think the non-negotiables and the structures are super, super important, like really, really important, you know, to building that type of resiliency, because that's what you need, right? It's like as your sobriety takes off, and to your work, David, you face harder things now, being, you know, over a decade sober, you face harder things now, allegedly, but you know you can do it because of the resilience that's been created. I mean, how do you guys think like resiliency is built? I mean, all three of us are dads. That's probably a pretty important thing. Like, how do we like create that in our children?
I'm not good. I'm not.
You're there.
I'm 3 weeks away.
You're there, dude. You might as well start thinking about it. How do you create and help somebody, you know, find resilience within themselves? How do you practice it yourself? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think letting them struggle. I think it comes from letting someone fail.
Lucas,
You want more?
I
What'd you
think
say? What'd you say, David?
I said, did y'all want more?
Well, I'm just
No.
thinking it through.
it
Yeah.
sounded like you maybe had more. I was trying to give you a little space there. I think that resiliency, yeah, it's like doing the hard stuff. I mean, everything you said, doing the hard stuff, even when you don't want to do it, and realizing that that's life and that's just the way it is. And if I only did what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have the life that I wanted to have. And I think it's also like not having a victim mindset, I think is really key to resiliency, that life is just happening, not happening to me. And then just like anecdotally, it's funny because I can struggle with not wanting to do things I don't want to do and avoiding them, procrastinating, putting them off. But I have to feel the consequences of that. And so then that's normally what, consequences are what work for me. And it's funny, like in sober living, we create these consequences and we try to make them as natural as possible, like just natural consequences. But we do have to make some artificial consequences just to kind of push that point through. But you get out of sober living and it's only natural consequences. Like if I don't go to work, I get fired. And if I get fired, I don't have money. And if I don't have money, I get evicted. And if I'm evicted, I'm homeless. And if I'm homeless, I'm 1,000 times more likely to turn back to drugs and alcohol because life is rough. And, there's like where we can all kind of be one or two bad decisions away from being in a really rough spot if I don't heed those consequences as a motivator to change my behavior. And just seeing it at like the very, very front end with my son, every single night, my son does not want to brush his teeth. And I go, oh, time to brush teeth. And now he starts lying. He's a liar. And he says, oh, I already brushed my teeth. And I'm always thinking, like, I've been with you for the past 2 hours. You did not brush your teeth with your mom at 4 o'clock today. I know that didn't happen. Do you want me to go ask mom? Yeah, you can ask her. I'll go ask her, did he brush his teeth? No, he didn't brush his teeth. Okay, mom said you didn't brush your teeth. Why are you lying? Well, then he'll say, but I don't want to, which is just so funny because that's like at like the core of like humanity.
Yep.
As a 2-year-old, even, that's like, that's there from the get, that it's just like, but I don't want to. And I always tell him, we all do things that we don't want to do. And we got to do things we don't want to do. There's lots of stuff Daddy did today that he didn't want to have to do. One thing I don't want to do is force you to brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth, yeah.
But here we are. And it's important enough in the scheme of things that I'm going to make sure this happens, even if you don't want to. And all of that obviously goes completely over his head. Please, nobody think that I think I'm like connecting with my son on that level at 2 years old. But it's something I'm going to say at every turn because I think it's really true. And I think that it needs to be said the earlier, the better, because that like human instinct of like, but I don't want to is there, I think, from birth.
Yeah.
And we got to start challenging that as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And figuring out like how to just be consistent on your end. So then by the time he's 4, it is just a thing. By the time he's 18, it's just a thing that we do, like I'm not like that being imprinted in now. Right. On a little side note on the toothbrushing, something has helped me. There's the app called the Oral-B Magic Timer, and he can pick like a little character. And then while he's brushing for 2 minutes, it's like brushing a picture of like the Lion King or like a Star Wars thing. And then you do like more day, and every day it's a different picture. My kids love it. Very helpful. We get our 2 minutes in that way. They're all excited about like the next picture and then adding it to their album. So I would say that might be a good one for them. The Oral-B Magic Timer. Pretty good.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted. But when I think about the person who you said like has that dog in them, if you think about like the sports player, the UFC fighter, the whatever, it's the person that you would say, oh, that guy's got that dog in him, would be the one that's dead tired, beat to shit, not getting success in the way that he had originally planned and practiced for, and just still goes out there and does it and just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. And then that one time goes through and they get this crazy play and everyone in the crowd says, man, that guy's got that dog in him. And I don't think it's limited to sports. I think it's that guy who shows up to a meeting every day and just keeps doing the next right thing, even though it's not clicking and it's not working and they still feel like they kind of don't get it. And it's the person who goes, if they have a sales job and they're just like knocking on doors, but they just keep knocking on the next one and knocking on the next one. And everybody's telling them, get effed, get off my lawn. You're not allowed in this neighborhood. You didn't see the no solicitation sign. And, you know, they just keep on calling and keep on knocking. And I think that's something that we all like admire and respect in people, but it takes that. It's just continuing to do the thing, even when it's not going your way, when it's hard and when it hurts. Because I think all those people I just outlined definitely had a thought in their head that said, just quit, just go sit down, let them put someone else in on the team to make that play. You're tired. You need a break. No one gets it. You've done so much. It's just not working, you know, whatever. But they say, F that. I'm staying in. I'm about to make this play and do whatever I got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Something I'll tell my kids is like, I'm not so much concerned. Like, if you win, I want you just to do your absolute best, you know, and like, do not quit. Like, do not quit. And I believe that more times than not, you're going to get wins, but you got to have some losses to you there. You know what I mean? And so that's like the foundational thing. Like, do not quit. Keep on going hard as you can, best you can. Go, 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 you know? And then like our wins are going to look different. That's also what's kind of cool about being a human. Like, we don't really know what's in store for us. We think we do. We think we know what we want to have, but we also can get really pleasantly surprised, especially if we look back like decades later, you know, year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. We're like, man, I didn't really expect this, but this is kind of cool. You know, like I didn't really see this coming. So that's also like a big like trust thing. Like trusting that life could turn out in some really positive ways. And I'm fully aware that like it doesn't always like turn out the way we want it to. You know what I mean? Like people get sick, people pass away, hard shit happens. And when that does, I guess like you have a kind of like a choice. There's stuff out of your control there. As opposed to like trying to end up where you think you should, how about just like do the next right thing? You know, just keep trying. And then maybe that's where peace really is. You know, that peace that we're all kind of after, as opposed to like, got to end up here. Like, I'm just going to do the next right thing, you know?
It goes back to wearing it like a loose garment.
Mm-hmm.
Do the next right thing and let it unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I think works the best, but you don't get to know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that eats me up.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know that this exact, very specific thing that I really want is what I'm going to get.
Well, you do know what's cool for you, Lucas. You referred to it earlier, and now it's like one of the gifts of like, you know, being an addict is like, hey, I know what all else failed. I didn't take a drink today. I didn't smoke today. I didn't take that pill today. I didn't do that. Like everything else may have fell apart, but I did not do that. Like it gives you such a tangible win every single day, whether it feels like that or not. It probably doesn't most days, but it is. And that's kind of a beautiful thing. That is like a gift of recovery there.
Yeah. Same with making your bed. That little thing you could do in the morning, even if the whole day went south, if you get home at the end of the day, you're tired, you're exhausted, you just want to get in bed to look at that like clean, freshly made bed. There's like a big sense of accomplishment there. But hey, before we get too far away from the gym thing, Cole, that you mentioned, I just wanted to read this stat because I looked it up while you were talking. But it says February sees a significant drop off in gym membership usage as many New Year's resolution makers abandon their goals, with estimates suggesting a large portion, around 80% for many reports, gym reports, they quit by this month, meaning that people went in, they were like, new year, new me. I'm going to go like get a gym membership. I'm going to do what I need to do. 80% of them fail, which goes back or like let go of that membership by 30 days later. 30 or 31 days later, 80%, and a lot of gyms are letting that go. And I do, you know, think that person that has the dog in them is the person that's willing to endure more pain. That's what it comes down to. And I also want to make this connection, and I do want to say before I tell you who I'm quoting here that I am a Georgia fan. I am a Bulldog at heart, but this is my second time quoting Nick Saban on this podcast.
Broad.
Brutal, dude.
Dude, he would say,
fake fan.
He'd say all the time to his teammates, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. So they tend to like oil and water. And I think that's why they had such a good team for so long, is he made sure he was putting high achievers, people that were willing to endure a lot of pain, on the line together. They were like brothers in arms, and they've created like a dynasty that'll live forever with the record that he's made there. I mean, he'll go down as one of the best coaches of all time, probably. I think that had a lot to do with it, and I think that that's why it's important for us to like drill into the guys that are coming through our program. Is like Lucas said, hey, we do have to do hard things. We do have to do things that we don't want to have to do. I have to do it on a daily basis, and we need to like create repetition here to get that dog in them.
Yeah, I think there's also an element of like, why does it fall off? And I think it's because people are fundamentally dishonest with themselves. Like they take a big degree of humility of like, I'm not going to want to do this in February. I'm signing up for the gym membership today, and I got this new me, and it's like this false bravado as opposed to like, man, this is going to be tough. Like I got to really like work hard at this. And then being honest, and I would suggest with another person, man, I don't want to do this today. And then that person being like, hey, come on, we can do this. We can do this. You can do this, like being like kind of like cheering them on some level. I think too often people come into it with this, like, I got to do it all myself. And there is truth in that, but you're not alone, And so like what happened to people like sign up for it, they go, they're doing their thing, and then it gets hard. And instead of like telling somebody that who can help give them like support and encouragement to like, hey, go again. You got this. Like, okay, you didn't go this week, go back. You got this. Instead of telling them that, they just keep it to themselves. And that's where shame builds, So the community and the connections, like a really important part of that. Doesn't have to be with a ton of other people, but you can see that on like sports teams. So I think it's just like this dishonesty and trying to do stuff all on their own. And it doesn't work.
Accountability.
Yeah.
I think it's a big part of it, of like that they're not going to let me not do it. And I think whether it's consciously or subconsciously, that's why I don't fold people in for things that I don't want accountability on, because I'm kind of already pre-planning that I'm going to stop doing it when I feel like stop doing it. And I don't want anyone standing in between me and stopping it to say like, no, let's just go together. Or I find the things I do the best in life, I do with other people, at least with them looped in or clued in, whether that's my therapist, my sponsor, peers in recovery, coworkers, y'all, like my wife, my family, those are all the things that I do the best. That's why I think it's important that everyone in my life knows that I'm in recovery. There's no way out. Everyone needs to know, so that if I stop, everyone will, will be able to hold me accountable on that.
Yep. And those are what we call pillars.
Hey, yes, sir.
Recovery are the people that you keep around you that can hold you accountable.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Going back to a classic look here.
I like this. Can you hear us still?
Oh yeah.
The headphones over the hoodie.
I don't know. Wow.
It's way better.
That's interesting. I like the other one better, but you do you.
Hit me. It's not a looks thing. It's a feel thing, dude.
Okay. You're in that rhythm, dude.
I'm in that rhythm.
You locked in.
Yeah.
What else we have today, boys?
I mean, I could talk about this stuff forever, but I feel like that covered it pretty well.
I have one more personal question for you, Cole. You can do some therapy on me, but how bad is it from a therapist standpoint? Do you think it is that I do kind of look at my recovery that way of like, oh, if I have that thought or if I have a slip up, I'm just a failure. Like that would just be another, then I don't have that dog in me. Like I very much look at it as like I would be a weak individual if I let that thought win or let that thing win. I know that it doesn't sound nice. It's probably not a very therapeutic thing to do, but I think it has a large portion to do with like how I got this many years of sobriety.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who do that, like I think it's a very natural thing, especially if you heard that kind of stuff as a kid when you were younger, like you were raised by the people who were like could be pretty tough on you. I would suggest treating it kind of like almost any thought you have, like just seeing it, receiving it, but not like holding it in like this is like written in stone. You know what I mean? Just like noting it and letting it go on by. Because that's not the only reason you stay sober. that you are scared of being a loser. Like, that's not the only reason. That you wouldn't be sober for this long, I would wager, if that was the only motivation. There's many, many other things.
For sure.
So like kind of just like noting it, oh, dude, I'm doing that thing, hold it very loosely, like a garment, as Lucas keeps saying, like holding it very loosely, like I'm doing that thing where I'm like being pretty tough on myself. Like I can do this for other reasons too. So then it's not like etched in stone being the only reason you're doing it, you know?
Yeah, no, normally it's like one of the forefront things, and then it's like the gratitude list and all those things come shortly after it.
Well, that's what I was saying too earlier. Like that's why I got to burn that energy, because that negativity and that like resentment and that like self-criticism is like baked into me. And like I have to like get that out. Like I have to get it out, like kind of like wringing out a washcloth. Like and it's done like I said, through like moving my body or sitting and writing. Like I have to like get that stuff, talking to someone, I have to get that out, because then I'm not like truly, it's not my full perspective. I'm only like pigeonholed or like cornering myself into one little perspective and being really tough on myself, you know?
Well, don't take a picture and post it while doing it, because I saw one of those Instagram posts last night. You never know if they're real, but I thought it was so funny that it said, studies show people who often post pictures about their workouts have deep-seated psychological issues.
I
was
agree.
Like, definitely know some people in my life that feels like, I feel like that checks out for.
Yeah, we can get into that a whole nother thing. Like we'll do that in February when people are like trying to get a healthy relationship with the gym or whatever.
But that does quickly bring me into what I know was a real study that showed that there was like something where two people decide to do a thing, go to the gym. One tells people about it, one doesn't tell people about it. And this kind of goes against what we were saying earlier, but the person who didn't go and tell everyone about it seemed to have a higher chance of success than the one who told everyone, because the one who told everyone got all the feedback already of like, that's so great.
They got the positive validation.
They already got all the dopamine and the validation. And so then they were like, well, now I don't have to actually go do the thing. Whereas the person who didn't get that validation or dopamine just from telling people has a better chance to therefore go get it in the actual workout or the endeavor of the thing, and success and failure with that.
So what you're saying, shocker, dopamine, not a great motivator. Not a great motivator. Perhaps like lean on something else. I would say oxytocin and like serotonin, like perhaps have a workout buddy you're going to work out with, or connections with people at the gym, like, or wherever we're talking about, at the meeting, whatever we're talking about, they're the human connection. Like that's probably going to be a much better motivator than this like dopamine centric like validation, you know?
Well, you get dopamine from working out, right?
Yeah.
And like being successful with it or hitting a new PR or whatever. So it's like, just that's the dopamine I would aim for, more than just the validation of people that you're telling people you're going to go work out.
Yeah.
And they say, wow, amazing. So brave.
I don't have a workout partner. Will one of you come be my workout partner?
We have offered that 100,000 times, and you
do have workout partners, dude. You have like all the people on your little like rowers and bikes and all that kind of
virtual people on your
virtual partners.
I don't do that. I always go no coach, dude, so I can listen to a podcast while I work out.
We'll talk about this later off camera.
Lies?
Lies?
One of them I used to know by name. You were like, oh,
stop.
You know,
No, I used to.
Stop.
Yeah.
Max motivates me. You know, she's just so good. And there's times when I feel like giving up, and she just says, roll harder. You got it. I just love that.
He did say this. I remember this.
So big change now that you've kicked Max to the curb, and now you row solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I got the form down, I was pretty much done.
I didn't need her anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, you know, David's rowing inconsistencies. There's no better place to stop than that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That's a wrap.
Okay.